All right, you're ready to go.
All right, I'd like to call to order the special meeting of Wednesday, June 7th of the Board of Finance. We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Do we have any public comment? Seeing none. I do not see any. We'll go on to communications.
You guys ready?
Go ahead.
It's gonna be a long one. We had several communication and correspondence. Andy Correa, Howard Lasser, Becky and John Ferreira, Aaron Scalera, Carly Tortillo, Bunny Tessier, Joanne Petrini, John Leopold, Jacqueline Salcido, Abigail Berry, Shannon Riley, Julia Zappia, Nicole Genoa, I apologize for mispronunciation, Aga Stepniak, Rachel Alagna, Andy Cohn, Tony Carr, Kelly LaFaso, Austin Montero, Denise McQuaid, Stacy Gall, Paul Berry, Jen Layden, Elizabeth Ray, Linda Arment, Stephen Belita, Brookfield's Children Advocacy Council of Connecticut, Denise Rice, Monique Matthews, Katie Mahoney, Bailey Orban, Michelle Vaquero, Joyce Buccino, Olympia Fata, Sean Hawthorne, Ronald Orban, Laura Orban, Stacy McIver, Melissa Yeager, Tara Peterson, Jennifer and Kevin Pink, Jennifer Ramos Morera, Jamie Clavins, Karen Johnson, Christina Zimmerman, Rebecca Newman, Jillian Verastro, Karen White, Gary Lubieski, Matt Grimes, Elena Lopez. And there was one First Selectwoman Carr wrote in today, but because the agenda was already submitted, I was not able to add it, so it will be on next month's agenda.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, on to the next.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the May 10th regular meeting minutes and the May 19th special meeting minutes.
Do I have a motion?
Second.
All right, discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes 6-0. All right, the first select woman is not in attendance. She had other items to attend to. This is a special meeting, so it wasn't scheduled in her absence here. Again, we usually meet the second Wednesday. We moved it up to accommodate our board. So, thank you. I'd like to make a motion now to make new business. Park and Recs give us our presentation now before we get into the financials. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Dan, you're good with that?
Yes,
Okay.
thank you, sorry about that.
The floor is yours.
Wow, okay. Do I come to the table?
Yes,
Oh,
you
okay.
may. Did you
You're
bring
good?
treats?
I'm sorry. No.
Oh.
That would have been smart, right? We're talking finance. That's usually the
Finance people love
goal,
treats.
Right? Next time.
Just gonna make it to calisthenics.
That's a treat. Yeah, wake us up. So I put a little blurb here. I'm not sure if it was included, but if not, I'll just read it. That's no problem.
And the last page of your packet has the transfer schedule.
Oh, okay, perfect. So recently we received a quote from Landtech, who was contracted to do the design for the baseball drainage project at the high school, which came in at $1,116,056, which exceeded our current budget for the project of $220,000. So I received quotes for the high school tennis court reconstruction, which came in at $591,350, which also exceeds our budget of $466,560. With that, I would like to move $124,790 from the baseball drainage project fund to cover the cost needed to complete the reconstruction of the high school tennis courts. So that is my proposition. I went to the Board of Finance on Monday night.
Or selectmen?
I'm not Board of Finance, hello. Board of Selectmen, and they voted to approve that. So next step would be coming to you, and as you see on that last page of your packet, that is the funds that would be transferred over to cover the cost. And the reason for that is at least we can complete 2 large projects. The baseball drainage project has been an issue for over 20 years, so it's kind of an ongoing issue. I understand it's not ideal, but the tennis courts are in such bad repair that we're just be kind of draining more money in, and it's past the point of just a crack repair, which is roughly $20,000 each time.
Can I add one thing?
Yeah.
With the outfield drainage, that originally it was a smaller amount, and then Mary Knox found out that she really needed to get an engineered survey. She went to the engineers, they had some issues with with COVID and employees leaving and things. So the 220 was her initial estimate. This year she suspected in her 2024 budget that it was going to be too low. She put in a placeholder of like 30,000, but she was still waiting for the engineer's report. So that engineer's report just came out a few weeks ago, and that's why the mismatch of the 220 to the 1.1 million.
Yes, and it was chasing them to just get that final quote, so.
But now we have the engineering drawings.
Yes, I have them here.
That won't help us.
No.
I would say that's Greek
But,
to us.
Yeah, yeah. And the nice thing is too, the tennis courts will also be lined for pickleball, which is part of the high school curriculum, and will also help our, pickleball players in the off season of high school. The courts will still be locked up during the high school time so that people can't come in from the public to use them.
I think this has come before us a few times, right? I mean, we go around, Dan, I'll
Yeah,
start.
so I have a quick question. I didn't get a chance to watch the Board of Selectmen meeting, so I apologize if I asked it.
And the microphone didn't work when I was presenting it.
Okay. So we talk at this board a lot about stakeholders, which are the kind of the so are the kind of the users, the stakeholders of the in agreement that this is the best use of the funds?
Yes.
Mr. Baldwin and such.
Yes.
Okay.
I reached out to all of the powers that be with Board of Ed, and everyone seemed to be on board. They also said, hey, this is really your jurisdiction,
Okay.
so that was kind of nice.
That's all I got.
Ryan?
We're talking about 1.1 million to fix a field. I know this is not in this discussion, but I'm just curious, what does a field cost to build?
What do you, like a
So
baseball
if
field?
we said, say we found some land, donated land, what do you think a normal field would cost to build?
That's a fantastic question.
Okay,
Is it,
maybe
I
like
mean,
just-
like, are you talking about like a multi-use field, a
Well,
baseball
no, just
field?
so I mean, we're talking this is eventually going to come up to us again.
Right,
1.1 million is a lot of money. If you can build something somewhere else for when it rains
Yeah.
for 500,000, it's probably a better use of the town's money. Just trying to understand: is that $1 million build? Is it $5 million build? I mean, I don't know what a baseball field costs. I'm just curious if you
to
know off
be
the top of your
completely
head.
transparent, neither do I.
Okay.
I
Fair
started in January 17th, so this
Yeah,
is,
no, that's fair enough.
still, relatively
I'm
new.
just curious because obviously I understand this
Yeah.
and I get it. So, but I'm just curious for the next ask. Right? It's
Yeah,
gonna be-
yeah, and if you'd like, I could certainly put that together and email it to the.
Yeah, that'd be helpful.
Board
Just to
finance.
understand what
Yeah.
what a field would cost, right? Thank you.
Yeah.
Rihanna?
So I think, just in terms of the capital committee, we're gonna meet now that the budget's all finalized. We should probably have you back. And then we need to rework, now we have to put the 1.1 down really, because that's more of it, and figure out how to tackle that going forward. Anything, I know two different things, with the track field that was approved in the capital, do you see any crossover there or no? Two totally different things?
They are two totally
Okay,
different.
perfect.
The nice thing is it's the same company, so.
Okay. All
you
right,
know.
so maybe we get a little, they get happy with us. And then roughly, do you know how many baseball and softball games have been canceled due to drainage problems
This year?
this year?
Not many.
No.
Okay,
Yeah.
we haven't had a lot of, how about
Yeah,
was
it's
last year?
been dry.
Yeah,
I
last
think
year's.
there
And
was
you weren't here
only,
last year, so.
yeah, I think it was only canceled once so far.
Yeah,
Okay.
that was a lot of.
All right.
Yeah.
So I think that, yeah, I mean, I'm fine with this because I think it makes sense. And we need to go back to the drawing board at the capital committee and figure out how to get this to work and talk about it for, next year. Do we need to put more aside? Is there something? But now we have a real number, so that's great.
Yes.
So there you go.
Perfect.
Okay.
All right, my comment is, have you shown that drawings to the Town Works part? There's a lot of smart people down there at the Town Works. Have you shown this engineering drawing to them?
Referring
Like
to
Ralph.
Yeah.
And let Ralph say, wow, you know what, maybe this is something we can handle. If you have the drawings, Ralph and his team are pretty sharp, I gotta say
They
that.
are.
They are.
They blow me away, and is this something now that we have the drawings from
That we can
a
do.
person, we can maybe do interdepartmental?
I have not reached out to him regarding this project. I did reach out to the company and he was like, well, we could make some cuts, and I didn't really know if those cuts were appropriate because I didn't know if it would really affect, like, hey, you said this because this is what's most efficient. So then we start cutting like a top level of, it just didn't
I'm with
seem
you
right.
on that.
So I'll
I'm-
reach out to Ralph and see.
I'm just saying Ralph has to be familiar with drainage on the roads and
Sure.
he's a sharp guy and his team are very sharp. I'm not saying they're an answer. They probably have a lot on their plate too, but I'm just
Yeah.
saying, let them look at it maybe and get an opinion.
Yeah.
That's all.
Absolutely.
Eileen?
Yeah, the only question I had, maybe I missed it, was what would be the timing of the tennis court repair? Is that something that would happen over the summer, or is this something, I mean, you have a, but you don't necessarily
So,
have.
no, it's a 12-week scope of the project, and I was talking to one of the gentlemen who would be subcontracted for this project, and he was saying it would probably not happen until the fall, and then really finish up in spring, because you're going right into where it's getting cold, and it's dependent weather. So it would be potentially early spring that it's finished. It's really weather dependent. It could be late fall, but it's, again,
And the other thing, this is adjacent, but again, it's a separate topic, but it's baseball fields. Is one of the other discussions that's come up in the past is about adding lighting to the high school fields, which would extend, so when it is dry and they need to stack games, they can schedule more games because there's light.
right.
So a cheaper alternative to drainage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great. Mary?
Yeah, all my questions have been, asked by others and answered very nicely. But it'd be good, to move forward and get a project accomplished, moving forward and get some good tennis court down there.
Marcia, on this letter we got from Tara, there's 2 points on it, but they're really 1 point, correct? No, they're two different.
Two different.
So
One is the.
one is there's interdepartment transfers, the other one is this what we're talking about.
Right.
Point 2 is what we're gonna make a
Right.
motion. So we would make a motion, I'll make a motion to close project PR 223 for the high school softball outfield drainage and transfer the 220,000 budget from 2023 bonded funds. 124,790 would be transferred to cover the shortfall in the project PR 222 high school tennis courts cost, which is also approved in the 2023 bonded projects. $95,210 would be transferred to available fund balance for future needs within the 2023 bonded projects, if any. Do I have a second?
Second.
Discussion?
And just, we had talked at one point about the radios and finding more money for the radios. This is the same bond year as the radios. If you'd prefer to put it directly into the radios, you could. Or you could leave it here, and if they need more money, they come back to you and take it. And that's why I put it here.
In our discussion, I think we should just leave it there.
Absolutely.
I agree,
That gives us
100%.
more flexibility, and obviously, we're gonna fund the police radios as needed anyway, so we're gonna figure it out. Any other discussion? Well, do I have a second? I have a second, right? Okay, any other discussions? All those in favor? Aye, your motion passes, have fun with it, get it done.
I'm
Next
so
time,
excited.
treats or something, don't.
All right, I promise.
Or
Thank
finance
you.
pickleball tournament.
When you come back to the capital committee, it's just, Ryan and I
All
just
right,
take.
all right.
whatever.
Don't
Thank you,
underserve.
no, we don't need
Just
anything,
kidding.
stop it, we don't want anything. Have a good night, thank you
Take
for
care,
your
thank you so
everything.
much.
Take care.
All right, Marcia, we're on to you.
Okay, talking about this year's revenue, just going through the changes, the revenue is a little bit higher than it was last month. There was a big land use fee that came in, 115,000. It was higher than that, but the projection for land use is up 115,000. I have an email into them just to say, is this something that we anticipated in next year's budget? So I don't know what address that is for. So it may just be a timing thing as opposed to a revenue thing. The interest income is still up. Although we've had to transfer now 11 million from Newtown to Union because the cash is depleting quickly. 2.5 million for teacher balloon payments, 2 million for all today, 2 million for the police radios. So that is higher than what we had expected. The interest rate is 5.5. In a seminar I attended today, it's expected to go back down next year, but that's where we stand. And then the only other thing that's of no little things here and there, two other things. There was an opioid grant in miscellaneous revenues, but that actually has strings attached to it, so I can't put it in the general fund. I reclassified it to the grant fund, so we make sure to use it appropriately. And taxes, our projection went down a little bit, but if you remember, taxes are more or less on a cash basis from September 1 to August 31st. And when you came in the hallway this morning, or tonight, you could see all the tax sale things. The tax sale is supposed to take place in August. We may have a lot of collections between now and August of people that don't want to have their property sold. So taxes is it's going to be over budget, but we just don't know how much. So that's the differences from last month to this month. If we look at where does that leave us? That revenues, we knew we were having more revenues than we expected. We used it in the budget. So we still have $1 million more revenues than what we had expected, which is good. We're hoping for that so that when the budget grows, we're still at a higher percentage. The town is got a balance. Everything is balanced within the town, the pluses and the minuses. But the Board of Ed's going to need more money, so the expenditures will be maybe 189,000 higher. We don't have a new number from them yet. Their meeting is Monday. So that looks like we would have a surplus of 840,000 net for the year. Our 15.59% fund balance would move to 16.05%. So we like that.
On this point here, where we're settling up, do we have to have another meeting before the end of the year to transfer the large amount of money?
No, I don't think so. You could, but I don't.
Not could. Do we need to? How's that?
The letter of the law says that they don't spend it until they have it in their budget, that you can't appropriate in excess of your, the state statutes in excess of your appropriations. That up until a few years ago, you always did all the transfers after the end of the year. I think it's either in the charter or in your bylaws that it talks about doing them at the end of the year.
So at our July meeting, the second Wednesday in July, the Board of Ed should have their closeout numbers. No?
I would prefer, so they have to have it closed out in August. I would prefer that we, August 31st, that we wait till the August meeting, and we balance with all the general fund books last year, that they came and got a number, and then the actual number was about $5,000 different when we balanced, and thank goodness it was in our favor, and I plugged it so that it balanced. I plugged it to revenue for us, but I would hate to see it as $30,000 in expense to us. So we could, if we really wanted to do it right, maybe have another meeting to do the big chunk of money and true everything up in
August.
meeting. August or September.
Okay, all right, as long as you're comfortable. Dan, you comfortable?
Yeah,
doing
that's,
the meeting?
yeah. It happens after,
Okay, I mean, I'm okay either way. I'm just saying I want to be prepared when we're going to do this. I don't want it to happen and we're like scrambling. So you're saying we're all good if we wait? Because they're going to come to us and ask us for $700,000, right? I mean,
We're good with the policies. With that amount of money, I would be more comfortable if we did it in June.
Oh.
And true it up later, but the big chunk in June.
okay.
Just because that's what the statutes that, if we want, I don't want to recommend something that's not following the letter of the law.
No, I appreciate that. Eileen, are you going to the meeting Monday?
I think it was this past Monday, I think.
The past Monday was just for them for their
for the budget?
2024,
Okay.
as I understand it. The next Monday is their regular meeting.
Sure.
Yeah, dropping it off later.
Okay, so let's have Eileen attend like she usually does, Marcia attends too, and then we have to meet for 20 minutes. Dan, you okay?
Yeah, sure, I'm away the last week of June.
Okay. Okay. Brianna,
I'm
okay?
okay as long as it's not next week.
Okay. I mean, even if we have 5 of us, we're all in
Exactly.
consent pretty
Yeah.
much, that we've agreed to this all year long.
Yeah.
This isn't a
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
surprise.
yeah, no.
This is nothing that we
Yeah.
haven't debated in other meetings.
Yep.
So if it works best for Marcia, and Eileen comes out with a number, and Marcia and Eileen decide on the number,
Yep.
that'll be in your two's thing to say, hey, this is what we heard, this is what we think. We'll set up a meeting, we present that, have Bob present that number, and you guys present it, and then even if Dan's not here, or one of us isn't here, I think we're all comfortable with the outcome of the vote of the remaining 5, or 4, whatever
So
it
they'll
may
have
be.
finance committee meetings on Monday, and then they have a board of ed meeting. They have to, they can't do anything with numbers until they've had a board of ed meeting and they make a motion.
Well, I agree, I'm
Okay.
okay, it's just not, I'm not,
Okay.
like, this is not working from crisis, this is
Gotcha.
working from,
Yeah,
we plan ahead where it fits, where we're not on that.
Either way, we'll have a
Edge.
quorum
and
at
that's
some
to go
point
through
in
Board of
June.
Selectmen too?
Yeah, that's true.
That's
The-
what it's
Oh.
for.
Yeah,
So then
yeah,
it'll probably be after, and to be honest,
That's right, I
most towns
apologize,
Yeah.
Dan. Thank
Yeah.
you.
do it after.
Well, I mean, if it's in our favor and in the finances favor, we ask the board of selectmen to have a special meeting, they've asked us.
Yeah,
I mean, I'm not, they've asked us numerous times, like even on the safety, to put forth it wouldn't be a big issue for them.
yeah.
We'll give
We can do
minutes
it
for that.
same day, I mean,
All right, let's see what the number is. Marcia, if it's more comfortable for you, I'd rather, to be honest with you, I'd rather take care of the big number too.
And then we'd still have to true it up because it won't be it'll be the best guess at the time, and we still true it up with a smaller number later.
Yeah, but that number would be 100,000 or so in
Or
max.
hopefully even, yeah.
Less, that's what I'm saying. All right, go ahead then, sorry.
Um,
So wait a minute, one other question. Out of this, no, the buckets of money got very confusing and it's still confusing. Out of this right now, how much extra do we have that we really haven't accounted for? With this extra interest and the 110,000 that could be, that we haven't, we put out in the buckets, we planned 2024, 2025, we had ARPA funds, we had all these things. Because there's requests for ARPA money again gonna come through. What do we have right now that is not earmarked in the next 3 years?
We haven't used any of those other buckets, so I'd have to look up because I can't remember what they were, but I thought when we talked, and I had said this on Monday night's meeting, I thought you were intending to use this extra revenue for capital, and then the rest of the ARPA as lost revenue.
Absolutely, that we're still on board with, but what you showed us is we have an extra 110 we didn't expect from land use.
Oh,
That
so-
could be a timing thing from next
Yeah,
year's budget,
so-
or it could be this year. Interest was more than you expected again, I
So
would
all
assume.
of this is the extra that we have. We used 2.8 in the budget, so we still have an extra 1,030,000. We wanted some extra because we don't want that fund balance percent to go down.
Correct,
At one point, we
correct.
thought it was going to, but now it doesn't look like it will.
Right, so I wanna, like what we talked about with the buckets, I wanna see, is there 100,000 of that left over, 200,000 of that left over that's really not earmarked? Or is all that 1 million not earmarked?
All that 1 million's not earmarked, other than to increase fund balance to keep it, you know, with the growing fund balance, with the growing budget. But all of the 1 million is not earmarked. Well, it's not earmarked other than we're gonna have to use some of it
For the Board of Ed,
for the Board of Ed.
of the 380 that we have in contingency, the balance of that's coming out of there.
Yeah.
And that's roughly 700,000, I think I heard, the last number was 6 and change. or whatever.
Yes, about 600,000. You'll see later, we're trying to put money into contingency when we find it. So there's 400,000 in there, so
200,000, so you're looking at $800,000 then.
840,000, yep.
All right.
Any other questions on that? As far as expenditures go, that this time of year, we've got people going through their budgets, so there was a lot of intra-department transfers, but not a lot of inter-department transfers. Ralph that needed more, there's not any more spending for 43 Silver Mine. It was just I didn't understand his email quite right. So we're adding for 43 Silver Mine that I should have done last month. But the same, approximately 11,000 is still the same amount that was spent.
Before you go any further, what is the impact of 43 Silver Mine? Or is it rented right now?
It is rented for more
So-
money. I think it's 2,800 a month.
So then this was a good move that we did this, because we were only getting how much per month?
1750, I think.
So the 1,200 extra will carry the 12,000 cost, then over the course of a year, we'll get a payback.
Yes.
Okay, good move.
But thank you, but it wasn't mine. The,
No, the first select woman, she did it, she did a good job.
Then there were some decreases that IT has someone that they don't pay me to do this IT on the two meetings, but they used to pay people to do the IT so that Dan didn't have to do it, and he hasn't been using that, so I took it out. We had a turnover downstairs, so we have extra money in the land use director's position, so I took that out. Employee benefits, it looks in your report as though it's overexpended because we have some withholding coming up. So that should be, but the disbursements out of there should be done for this life and long-term disability. So I took that out. And all of the money that wasn't needed in another line, I put into contingency to try and help that Board of Ed.
So go back to land use planning. So we had a director that left us to go to another town or another job,
Yes.
which is perfectly good. But we were able to find another land use director within how many weeks did it take us to do that?
2, 3.
And we were able to get that in a $3,500 turnover.
Because the former land use director was just part-time for those weeks. So that's where we're saving the money. After she was paid out for her vacation and the part-time is the savings. And the new land use director is not being paid more than the old land use director.
Thank you.
So that is under your agenda for new business as far as, I think you have it under new business. So we'll put it under here, that we'll, look for a transfer there, that,
We're gonna do it right now,
okay.
because we're talking about it. We're talking about it. So I'm gonna make a motion. Go ahead, you do it. You show us now what we gotta do, because that was our interdepartment.
This is interdepartment, so you
Yes.
want to make a motion to approve the interdepartment transfers totaling 12,000 in, 12,000 out, as noted on the report.
I'd like to make a motion that, to approve the town expenditures for interdepartment transfers between departments of 12,000 in and 12,000 out as shown on the attached financial reports from Marcia Marion, Controller / Director of Finance. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Do I have any discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 6-0.
All right, Parks and Rec, we talked about. ARPA, we're still waiting for the town attorney on that, what do we have to do? As far as we want to transfer money, if each project was approved individually at a town meeting, that we're able to transfer in some of the other funds because they're approved in a group. What are the rules here? And so I reminded him on Monday night, and he's going to get to that. Revenues, the final budget has been passed at the state, that we should get $38,000 more revenue than what we had anticipated. Education cost share being the biggest thing, that they decided that they would make everybody whole. They're also working on this early voting, and in year-end '24, there was $10,500 that they've put in the budget to offset costs for early voting, $10,500 for every municipality. And year-end '25, there's nothing that's in there. And that information came from CCM. that as far as I know, I don't know if they've finalized what the rules are and how many days and things. I did ask one of the registrars that with the early voting, you could have all 3 districts in one location. What if we had all 3 districts in one location all the time? So it's less confusing, and would we have much of a savings, because we wouldn't need to pay the rent for St. Marguerite's, we wouldn't need to, there's some moderators that we wouldn't need, but he's gonna get back to me on that.
You also have to figure in how will that impact turnout.
And if he's got a space big enough. he
But,
said.
but yeah, but how, I mean, perhaps people go because it's on their way, as opposed to crossing over the mountain and getting over there. So,
Yeah.
cost is one thing, but convenience to the voter is equally or more important, I think.
And that's fine. I was just asking the question because when I read the House report, it was talking about all at one location, and I just thought, I don't think it would always all at one
Yep.
location.
Is,
I mean, it's not the end of the world, it's 10 minutes.
Isn't St. Marguerite's only because Huckleberry, so during 2025, or when we're talking about, we would be at Candle Lake, right, I would assume?
I
We'd
think
have to
it's
pay
in
the
Candlewood
rent.
Lake.
Probably up to that registrars, right, to figure that all out.
But we would have to pay the rent, you're saying?
And we're all hearing about clawing back this ARPA money, and we've got that 1.9 million. That's not what they're clawing back. I just wanted to reassure you on that. That's money that they haven't allocated to anybody yet. This is a slide from last month that Dan wasn't here, that we talked about the auditors. We want to select an auditor later in the meeting. I did just a little bit of work again, same as last month, and again in the seminar today that I had, that nationally, that their auditors are in very short supply, that they were talking about that. People are filing their continuing disclosures late because they can't get their audits. Windsor is 2 times the size of us. They had 2 bids. Their current auditor increased their fees by $50,000 when they went out to bid. Hebron is half the size of us. They're unhappy with their auditor, but continued at a price that's $12,000 more than ours. Even though they're unhappy with them because they find them unresponsive, they continued with that auditor because they had no other choices. The Woodstock is 1/3 the size of us. They had 1 bidder, which was our auditor, the same auditor we use, and when they went out to bid, the auditor increased it by $11,000. So our deal of only increasing it by $1,000, I just want to say I think it's a pretty good deal. Then just reading the Municipal Finance Advisory Council, when you're in trouble, they send you there. And they just happen to be talking about auditors and a number of towns are having problems getting their audits in because they go out to bid and don't get anybody. So, but as background for later, our auditors, I believe we're all happy with them, and they're increasing their fees $1,000 a year.
So Marcia and I talked about that briefly a couple of weeks ago, and makes perfect sense.
They just wanted to wait for you until.
Yeah, no, yep, absolutely.
And then just one other concern that I wanted to bring up, that arbitrage, that in the past, arbitrage is when we issue tax exempt bonds and we earn a lot of interest on them, and we have to be very careful, and we haven't had to be very careful in the last 15 years because we weren't in an arbitrage environment, but we've just switched, so we're in an arbitrage environment that if we don't watch out, that our bonds could be converted to taxable bonds, that we could pay monetary penalties. There's 2 tests and that we have to do. That one is called a yield restriction test. That we can't earn more money than the bond yield. So if we have a bond that yields 3% overall, then we can earn, I think we can earn 3 1/8%, but essentially we can't earn more than that. with some exceptions. And one of the exceptions is the one that we try to use, it's right in our charter, that our charter says we have to spend the money within 3 years, and this is why. That the exception is we can earn whatever we want to earn on as interest rates as long as we spend 85% of that in 3 years. And in the last few years, we've had those nice schedules. We have the bond here, so we're monitoring that on quarterly reports. We're monitoring that on annual reports. And so there's no concerns, I don't have any concerns there. The second one are the rebate rules. So the first one is what should we invest the money in, and if we didn't think we were gonna meet this, then we would have to say, oh no, we're gonna have to invest it in, treasury bonds at 3% or whatever. The second one are the rebate rules. We can now invest in anything we want, but if we earn too much interest, we may have to pay the IRS some. And the rebate rules that 95% of it has to be spent within 24 months. That don't ask me why they have these separate rules. That but 95% has to be spent within 24 months. If it's a construction project, because you can have 5% retainage that has 36 months to spend. If it's not a construction project, it's 24 months. My concern is we took out bonds for the school on October of 2021 that it was supposed to be spent by now because the school was supposed to be done and we were supposed to be in it. That they're going to be in that school, so we have October of 2023 to spend it. But we'll still be doing a little bit of work. We'll still be doing, and we may be under budget by $1 million. What effect does that have? And I don't know the answer to that. When we look at the interest rates for the first half of the bonds, the interest rate was 0.1%. And so we have a negative arbitrage, and we can offset that with now where it's 5%, we have a positive arbitrage. We have to do a calculation. We just can't ignore it. We have to do a calculation. There's an awful lot of rules. I'd like to do the calculation after the school is complete to see where we stand, and I'd like us to hire a professional to review that calculation. We have 5 years, so it's no hurry, but I just want to call it to your attention. I want to just, even if we think we're in good shape, I want to document that we're in good shape. So if IRS comes in or someone comes in later, we say, nope, here's everything we did and here are the rules. So we've got that, and then I have some policies and procedures for post-issuance compliance that we had started when Steve was here, and then with COVID it just dropped, but I want to get back to that and bring those to you to review as well.
2 questions.
Okay.
So, potential penalties are based upon the overage, on the arbitrage overage, or is it a flat type
So
of?
there's a penalty
punitive?
if we don't address it. There may be, it's called a rebate, like the same as a tax.
Yep.
That if we do address it, is based on the overage, yes. That,
Okay, there's no like penalty for failing and you owe $500,000 just because you screwed up. Not you, I'm saying.
if we screw it up, we could owe another, if we say, oh, we didn't even look at this,
Right.
we could owe a penalty. And it's possible that we owe a rebate. Just looking quickly, I wouldn't imagine if we did, it would be much,
Yeah.
just because we had such
Such
low
a-
interest rates for the first 18 months.
Right.
that-
And then, this might be a question, well, I'm sure you know, but for John as well. Are bond proceeds invested in a discrete fund, or are they kind of commingled with operating funds, and how do you,
Commingled, and we can prorate.
is that just a prorate? Not exact, okay.
So I'm gonna go back to the other thing, on the rebate rules, you said the $1 million that we may be under budget, we may have to pay taxes on it? I don't understand that. What is?
So, let's say,
We end up with $1 million under budget on the school. You mentioned that.
oh, but I wanna make sure that we don't have to, because of the rules, that they're talking 95 has to be spent. What I wonder if we would do is, and that's where we get the professional review, is to say, you know, we're under budget by $1 million, if that's the case, I don't know what it's gonna turn out to be. We're under budget by $1 million, we have bonds authorized for this year for $1 million.
Same year bonding.
That, well, we can say, we were gonna take the $24 million worth of bonds, and we were gonna combine them with the 2025. Instead, do we say, nope, we have $1 million extra in the school, we do the same thing that we did earlier this year and say, with this extra money, we're de-obligating them from the school and we're putting it towards the track,
Which is the same year bonded.
well, it's not the same year bond, but we can do that with a motion of the Board of Selectmen, it's
Okay.
just,
Or the field drainage.
well, we would have to approve that and
Is the drainage
approve a bonding for it, but, yeah. So I just want to make sure that we know how all this fits in, that, make sure that we're in good shape and that we don't get ourselves any surprises or in trouble.
Thank you.
And it's probably something for the professional reviewer, but do you think that there would be any exceptions or exemptions because of the supply chain issues that were unexpected that caused the delayed opening? I mean, if we can't close that out because we were expecting to be in 9 months earlier.
With the yield restriction, and again, this is a few hours of reading and 8 hours of a seminar, that with the yield restriction, that there are exceptions, that, and they're expecting a lot of them because of that, and that's the 3-year rule. That I didn't read anything and they didn't mention anything with the 24-month rule.
As long as we're on top of it, it is what it is. I
Yeah,
mean,
and we're talking about it, so it's important.
You can't change their laws, and if the situation happened, we gotta adapt. Fluid isn't that your word? We have to be fluid on this.
All right, that's good. Any other questions on any finance stuff?
No.
All right.
All right, I think the audit committee, Dan, you're pretty set. We're gonna address that at the appointment of the auditors later in the agenda.
Yes.
You ready? Capital, Brianna?
We're just gonna, I'm gonna send out an email next week and just have us get together and, in probably in July and
Okay.
just start reviewing everything and
And keep on top of it
Yep.
and manage it instead of letting it manage us.
Yeah,
Right?
well, my idea was to see if, with the capital budget passed, all the things that passed through it, where they were, now that they know it's passed, have they ordered this, have you done that, have you done this? Are the quotes on par? So hopefully,
Perfect.
maybe we'll know more.
Thank you. All right, we did park, old business was not new business, we did Parks and Rec. All right, the bylaws.
I didn't do my homework.
No.
Mill rate was before the bylaws.
Yeah.
Oh, mill rate. Oh. Sorry, thank you. Marcia, do you have that?
Turning my machine right back on.
Do
Forgot
we-
about that.
Do we wanna go on
Forgot about
while
that.
she's turning her machine on?
Funny how that slips your mind when things go well.
Or we can, we can keep, do you wanna do the auditors?
No, we
she's
can-
turning the machine on,
no,
okay.
No, because let's keep the screen up when we talk about the auditors
Yeah.
as well. Sorry, Marcia.
Did we wording for the motion already?
No. Do you? I think Marcia's gonna have it. I think all we make is a motion to set the,
Yes, I'm going to have it, and,
Marcia has all the wording.
my I don't, do I have the wording? I don't know if I have the wording, but I can make it up. My 5-year-old computer takes a while to start.
Marcia, do you remember, I'm sorry, may I speak while we're waiting?
No, actually. Sorry.
That's all right.
Not my rules.
I would have said yes.
Thank you. Thanks for supporting me in that. You guys keep me in line, and then you're gonna unleash it?
Exactly.
How about I make a motion, we take a 5-minute recess? Can we turn this off, or is that better to do?
I'm opening it right now.
So then she's gonna stop the tape and restart it.
All right, the mill rate was 26.86, which is a 3.79%.
6, 3.79%. And what's the end mill rate?
26.
26,
What was it?
It was 20.
Oh, it was 25.88, so it's a 0.98% increase.
0.98% increase.
0.98 mils increase,
Mills.
sorry.
So then the motion would be, we'd like to set the mill rate for the upcoming 2023-2024 budget at 26.86 mils, which reflects a 3.79% increase from prior year mill rate. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Discussion?
Are we sure that's complete and properly worded?
No.
Right.
Trying to pull
Yeah.
the minutes from last year.
Yeah. Just wanna make sure it's perfect.
Yeah. This one slipped through me, I didn't even read it.
Yep.
Didn't even see it when I was reading it this time. It would have been in May.
Yeah.
No, June. It would have been our June meeting. No, we would
We
have
we-
been.
we
Yeah.
had a special meeting.
Oh, there it is.
All right. It was properly worded.
Okay, good.
Great, perfect.
Actually, I've added in a few more words,
Okay.
so which is fine. So the motion stands as, then we had a second. Do we have any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
The motion passes 6-0. All we had in the last motion, Dan, was we set it to 25.88 as noted
Okay,
in the Brookfield budget.
There we
Great.
go.
perfect.
Love it.
All right, so that was there. Bylaws, we're gonna table that, or Dan, do you wanna speak to it?
Nope.
All right.
All right, so we'll just move this to July?
Yeah, my apologies.
So,
I was going to summarize what the changes were
Right,
and
and
send
then-
it out ahead of time,
yeah.
and then everybody can review it, we could discuss it at the
Mhm.
meeting.
We should do
and
that.
to get that done.
Okay, so we'll do that for the July meeting.
All
if
right,
you need any
School's
help.
almost out, the school's almost out.
Yeah,
we're volunteers,
Soccer
don't
practices.
stress
Yeah.
right now. Do not stress. There's a
there
lot
was,
of
there was a
things-
few, follow-ups or educate, or learnings, if
Yeah.
you wanna dole those
Yeah.
out, I'd be happy to,
Oh,
you're gonna find out this and that next thing, there's
Yeah.
5 of them.
yeah.
Okay. Are you sharing them now, or are you gonna
No.
share them later?
I'll
Okay,
share.
and
Okay.
ultimately, the final document will be cleaned up
Yeah.
from that disaster that's out there now, that's double spaced, triple spaced, and, right,
Right.
we have that cleaned.
That'll be the goal.
Right, perfect, all right. No worries. Let's move on to, if Marcia, if you can pull that screen back up that you had on the auditors, would be awesome.
Yep.
I think the screen tells it all. I think we'll get resistance that it's not going out to bid. I think it's within our purview though for that price and seeing the numbers to lock it in at the rate. I think it'll be a savings to the town. And I also believe we budgeted for this amount in our budget, and anything more than that would be a hit on next year's budget. If they increased the budget increased by 11,000 and the town third smaller than us, we face the risk of 20,000 increase possibly by math.
Plus, it's been a good working relationship,
Exactly.
everybody's happy with.
We are getting good service
Mhm.
at a very good price, and there's no benefit and only risk to changing.
And I would ask that you don't put the amount in the budget, because now that I look at this, I can't remember if year ending June 30th, 2023 was the audit of year ending June 30th, 2023, or in our budget of 2023 or 24. So if you just don't mention
We're not gonna mention the
Okay.
no, but we budgeted the right amount, whatever's in the
we
budget.
did,
Yeah,
and
that's all
I
I'm
knew
saying.
it then, but I can't remember
Right,
it.
so the number we have in the budget, like Dan said, if we go out to bid, we only have a risk of it increasing, more
Right.
than likely.
Completely.
The probability is high it would increase instead of decrease.
It's not
Right, and the probability is also high that the service we get for that increased price is less than what we're getting now.
Yes, that's very true.
So I'm fully supportive of this 100%.
And, well, Mary, your opinions?
Yeah, exactly what we've said, that if it's
Okay.
working well and it's an amazing price, we should keep it.
I mean, Fiona, Ryan, Dan's already spoken, and I think, sum it all up, I think that we've really come a long way with these audits over the past 4 years, that Dan has really taken it on.
Oh, I
No, we
haven't.
work with Marcia.
I took it on
coordinated.
6 years ago. For the last 4 years, I've done very little.
Okay, but I mean, you've gotten it
Yeah.
to a point now where we are getting great reviews,
Yes.
great audits, no deficiencies. Whatever's being done with you and Marcia's guidance that we respect totally, I think we should go along with that, in my opinion, as well. So we would make a motion then to retain the current auditor? Is that all we have to do?
For the
For the next
for the
fiscal
one
year.
fiscal year.
Okay, so I'll make a motion that we retain the current auditor for the fiscal year 2022 through 2024, 2023 through 2024. Correct?
Yes.
Yes, I'll second that.
All in favor, any discussion, any more discussion? All in favor? Aye, it's a 6-0. We don't have any other items to come before the board. We have no other public comments.
You thought now?
Yeah.
You can speak now, yes you can.
No, that's all right. It's a question that's probably best off.
And to bring back an oldie, I'll make the Mulvaney motion. To bring back the golden oldie, I'll make a motion to adjourn. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Well done.